Welcome back. So generating the token is not enough, of course. We need to log in, and we already started actually doing the login. Now, I went since the last video and made a lot of changes actually, but it's not like I changed any code. I just rearranged all my code and refactored it. The first thing I want to talk about is that I actually made an auth user service right here. So the reason that I did that was, again, to get more into the clean architecture way, because I'm really a fan of that structure. So I actually made my entire security layer now. That's actually a full clean architecture right here, right now. So it's just directories, but still you can see all the different layers that I would need in order to build this system. And then later I could always split this into multiple projects or put some of it into the core project if I wanted to. So now we have a security service that actually uses a user service, and that user service knows how to log in. When we log in the user service, what will actually happen is the user service will ask and find user and password inside the repository for the user. And what we're doing there is pretty simple. We're just doing what we did before, right in the code. We're just saying that I want to find the user just like we did last lesson, but I moved it all the way down here now because now it's where it belongs, inside a repository that communicates with the database, so we can easily change that later if we want to. So that's kind of the setup we did. And then of course, setting the service and the auth service and the repository, I need to do all of that in the startup file. So I went in here and I actually added the seeding for those informations as well. So now we have new security setup right here. So we have the repository service and security service. And this means that we can easily switch those later if we want to, and we can also rearrange it and add these interfaces, for instance, in the core if we want to reuse them in other projects later on. Another thing I did was I went in and I actually made an auth and a DB context right here. I made seeders for them individually. So we have a main DB seeder, and that's the one we already built and worked with earlier. And then we have an auth DB seeder. That's a new one that uses the DB context and then seeds the database. So again, last lesson you noticed that I put seeding information directly into my startup file. Really not a fan of that, so we moved it into its own file right here. And that file actually resides right here inside the security area right here as well. So again, the security is still stored. Everything is still inside the security package. I just kind of changed the way that I show it. We have now an auth user also, which only has a username and an ID. And then we have an auth user entity, which also is going to contain the hashed password that we're going to use next lesson. So again, with this major refactoring, let's just do a git commit just to get everything in there. I actually do a git add all to get everything in there. I'll do a git commit am to add everything. I'll say refactoring code. And again, notice there's no new features in this or anything. So I just refactored my code, nothing else. And then I'll push the code back right here, so we have that available in the cloud if you guys want to use it. So now you have the same code just split into multiple files again, just to make them easier to actually do unit testing on later on, which I will do. It won't be test driven because the code is already there, but I will be unit testing my different areas of the code later on. But let's just end that right here. That was just kind of a refactoring of the code just to make sure that everything works as I want it to work, and just removing everything so it's more of a clean architecture with entities, models, and repositories and services split into their own areas. And again, there's a lot of folders now, and that's normally what we do in the clean architecture with different projects in the way that I set up earlier. We also added the auth DB context seeder right here, and then we kind of went into the startup file and started using all these different things that we just created by adding the scopes and also adding the new seeder right here. So now I just changed that code. See you next time, we will start actually looking at hashing our passwords.